Welcome to our channel. Today, we delve into a momentous period in history, World War II, focusing on Germany's military campaigns. As we journey back in time, we'll encounter a series of pivotal events that shaped the course of this global conflict. The magnitude of these military confrontations not only changed the trajectory of the war, but also left indelible marks on the annals of history. Our exploration will take us from the snowy landscapes of Russia to the sun-drenched hills of Italy, and from the bustling streets of Berlin to the quiet skies of Britain. We will count down the 10 most devastating defeats suffered by Germany during World War II. Each battle, each confrontation, will shed new light on the strategies, the triumphs and the failures that marked this era. Without further ado, let us begin our journey into the past. Starting the countdown at number 10, we have the Battle of Monte Cassino. This grueling conflict unfolded in early 1944, as German forces made a desperate stand to defend the Gustav Line in Italy against relentless Allied attacks. The Gustav Line was a critical defensive position, fortified with a series of concrete bunkers and artillery posts that stretched across the Italian peninsula. The Battle of Monte Cassino was characterized by bitter fighting and high casualties, as German forces stubbornly resisted the advancing Allies. Despite their tenacity, the Germans were unable to hold the line. With a heavy toll on both sides, the battle ended in a costly defeat for Germany. The Gustav Line was breached, and the path to Rome lay open for the Allies. This defeat marked a significant blow to German forces in Italy, shaking the very foundations of their defensive strategy in the region. At number 9, the Battle of Stalingrad stands as a significant turning point in the war. This cataclysmic confrontation, spanning from late 1942 to early 1943, saw the German Sixth Army locked in a brutal struggle with Soviet forces. The city became a symbol of resistance and a trap for the invading army. Encircled and cut off from supplies, the Germans were eventually ground down by the relentless Soviet counterattacks and the harsh winter. The German Sixth Army, once the pride of Hitler's war machine, found itself decimated, with its soldiers either dead, captured, or in a state of surrender. The loss was not just in men and material, but also in morale and strategic initiative. This defeat marked a massive shift in the balance of power on the Eastern Front. The Battle of Stalingrad signaled the beginning of the end for Germany on the Eastern Front. Coming in at number 8 is the Battle of Kursk. In the summer of 1943, the Eastern Front bore witness to a clash of ironclads, the likes of which was never seen before or since. The Battle of Kursk holds the distinction of being the largest tank battle in history, a brutal confrontation between German and Soviet forces that spanned over 2 weeks. The German objective was straightforward: encircle and destroy the Soviet forces at the Kursk salient. But the Soviets were prepared. They had created multiple defensive lines to absorb the German onslaught, turning Kursk into a meat grinder of metal and men. Despite initial gains, the German forces were ultimately repelled, suffering heavy losses in both manpower and machinery. This marked the end of Germany's ability to launch large-scale offensives on the Eastern Front, shifting the momentum of the war decisively in favor of the Soviets. This decisive defeat severely limited Germany's ability to launch future offensives. At number 7, we have Operation Bagration. This was a Soviet offensive launched on the Eastern Front in the summer of 1944. It was named after Prince Pyotr Bagration, an esteemed general of the Imperial Russian Army who fought Napoleon's forces in the 19th century. In this operation, the Soviets dealt a crushing blow to the German Army Group Center, leading to the loss of hundreds of thousands of German soldiers. The operation was meticulously planned and executed, with the Soviets exploiting weaknesses in the German lines to encircle and annihilate their forces. The losses for Germany were staggering. Not only did they lose a significant number of soldiers, but they also lost control of significant territory, including Belarus and parts of Poland. The aftermath of Operation Bagration left Germany's strategic position on the Eastern Front severely weakened. The Soviets had gained the initiative and would maintain it until the end of the war. This operation marked a major strategic setback for Germany. Coming in at number 6 is the Battle of the Bulge. The final major German offensive on the Western Front, this battle took place in the dense forests of the Ardennes. Kicking off in December 1944, the Germans initially achieved surprise and success, exploiting poor weather conditions that hindered Allied air support. The offensive was ambitious and desperate, aimed at splitting the Allied forces and capturing the vital port of Antwerp. But the German gamble didn't pay off. Despite their initial gains, the offensive was blunted mainly by the tenacity of American defenders and the eventual clearance of the weather, which allowed Allied air forces to strike. The Germans suffered heavy casualties, with tens of thousands of soldiers lost, not to mention the expenditure of precious resources, tanks, fuel, and equipment that could not be replaced. The failed offensive left the German forces spent and vulnerable. This defeat further strained Germany's already limited resources. At number 5, we have the fall of Berlin. This event occurred in 1945, and it was an absolute turning point in the annals of World War II. The Soviet forces, in a decisive and unyielding offensive, managed to capture Berlin, the very heart of Nazi Germany. Their victory was not only strategic but also symbolic, sending a clear message to the world that the end of Nazi Germany was imminent. The German forces suffered devastating losses. The city of Berlin, once a bustling metropolis, was reduced to rubble, its buildings destroyed and its people left in despair. The streets that once echoed with the march of German boots now echoed with the silence of defeat. The destruction was not just physical, but psychological, shattering the once indomitable spirit of the German forces. The fall of Berlin marked the symbolic and actual end of Nazi Germany. This was a momentous event that forever changed the course of history. Coming in at number 4 is the Battle of Berlin. This was the final major offensive of the European theater of World War II, and it was here that the last of the Third Reich's defenses crumbled against the relentless onslaught of the Soviet forces. The battle, which raged from mid-April to early May in 1945, saw some of the most intense urban warfare in history. German forces, depleted and demoralized, fought desperately in a city that was rapidly being reduced to rubble. The street-to-street and house-to-house fighting was brutal and costly, and the German defenders were gradually pushed back by the Soviet juggernaut. Even as the Reichstag fell and the Soviet flag flew over Berlin, pockets of resistance continued to fight, refusing surrender, but the end was inevitable. The Battle of Berlin represented the final nail in the coffin for Hitler's ambitions of a 1,000-year Reich. This battle underscored the desperate situation of Germany in the final stages of the war. At number 3, we have Operation Barbarossa. This massive military operation was the German invasion of the Soviet Union, launched in June 1941, and named after Frederick Barbarossa, the medieval German emperor. The operation started with considerable initial gains. The German forces advanced rapidly, seizing vast territories and capturing numerous Soviet soldiers. However, the tide soon turned. The vast distances of the Soviet Union, coupled with logistical challenges, started to strain the German forces. Their supply lines became overextended, and the harsh Russian winter set in. The Soviet resistance, initially caught by surprise, regrouped and began to fight back with fierce determination. The German forces, ill-prepared for such resistance and the severe weather, began to suffer heavy losses. Operation Barbarossa, intended as a swift and decisive strike to knock the Soviet Union out of the war, instead turned into a drawn-out, costly struggle. It marked a significant turning point in World War II and began the long, painful retreat of the German forces on the Eastern Front. Operation Barbarossa was a monumental failure that cost Germany dearly. At number 2, we have the Battle of Britain. The year is 1940, and the German Luftwaffe sets its sights on the skies above Britain. Their objective? To gain air superiority and pave the way for a German invasion of the British Isles. But as with many best-laid plans, things didn't quite go as expected. Despite their formidable air force, the Luftwaffe faced fierce resistance from the Royal Air Force. Day and night, the skies above Britain became a battleground, with both sides fighting tooth and nail for control. Yet the Luftwaffe's might was not enough. Unable to break the resolve of the Royal Air Force, the German forces failed to gain the upper hand. This marked a significant setback for Germany's war effort, and effectively halted their plans for a full-scale invasion of Britain. In the grand tapestry of World War II, the Battle of Britain was a crucial turning point. It served as a testament to the fact that victory is not always decided by the size of one's forces, but often by the spirit of those who fight. And at number 1, we have the Battle of Stalingrad. The magnitude of this battle cannot be overstated. It was a grueling conflict that spanned from August 1942 to February 1943. The German Sixth Army, under the command of Friedrich Paulus, marched into the city with confidence, but that confidence would prove to be misplaced. The Soviet forces, led by General Vasily Chikov, fought with a tenacity that was as ferocious as the Russian winter. The city became a labyrinth of despair for the German forces, as they were slowly encircled and cut off from supplies. The loss of the Sixth Army and its commander was a catastrophic blow to the German war effort. Friedrich Paulus became the first German field marshal to surrender, a fact that sent shockwaves through the Nazi high command. This marked the start of a steady decline on the Eastern Front for Germany. The Battle of Stalingrad stands as the worst defeat for Germany in World War II. We've journeyed through some of the most impactful battles of World War II. From the harsh terrains of Monte Cassino to the chilling winter of Stalingrad, we've seen how Germany faced devastating defeats. We've navigated the explosive tank battles of Kursk and witnessed the crushing blow of Operation Bagration on the Eastern Front. We've revisited the ambitious yet ultimately failed offensive in the Ardennes and watched as the once invincible Berlin fell, not once but twice. As we moved through the timeline, we saw how Operation Barbarossa's initial promise turned into a nightmare, and how the Battle of Britain marked a pivotal moment where the German Luftwaffe failed to claim the skies. And finally, we returned to Stalingrad, a catastrophic defeat that signaled the beginning of the end for Germany. These defeats marked the progression of the war and ultimately led to the downfall of Nazi Germany. Thank you for joining us on this historical journey. Until next time.